The Karen Reed players are back as Turtleboy doesn't like Julie Carptenter. Who? And she doesn't like him neither. Apree and Long Island Audit stick to the same old scripts in videos posted over the weekend. Chille DeCastro has no idea what actually happened in a video of a surfer interacting with police, but boy was he murderous over it. Plus, a look at the GoFundMe market on this edition of Auditing Insanity. Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of the Auditing Insanity Newscast brought to you by ReallyCoolNews. I'm Jim Finch and I'm going to be your host for stories on Chille DeCastro, Turtleboy, Apree, and Long Island Audit today. It's another beautiful day in north central Pennsylvania. The sky is blue, the air is chill, the cats are singing harmonies of destruction, and there's a strange man here fixing the stair glider on the basement steps we used to get my dad up and down to the main floor of the house. Thankfully, the repairs are covered by the Veterans Administration, and in a few hours, well, nothing. Since I've written this, they've scheduled us for a new model to be installed in the next few weeks. This is going to be interesting. Oh, yes. On that note, we're early today, so we're going to get this episode recorded as we ask you to focus on DeCastro Direct D falls unknown competitor. Direct D's string of victories ended at 1, and Chille DeCastro didn't even make the scoreboard on Sunday, as her own ongoing expenses fund took the day with a $25 donation. Donations made directly to the GoFundMe are what are counted in each race each day. We only have access to our own PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, etc., so it's simply not fair to include donations from those sources in the race, as we don't have access to what everyone else is earning per day for the outside sources. GoFundMe is public, and you can pretty much track donations. Unlike other donation services, there's not really a means to make fake donations or offline donations to pad the results. Well, I'm sure it can be done, seeing it done with people with reason to pad is pretty rare. Plus, it's also the industry standard. People know what it is, so when you say that Chille DeCastro has 4 GoFundMes, and he's still not pulling in any donations from his 618,000 subscribers, people know that it's a red flag because he should be making money hand over fist. We have a little over 600 subscribers. We have dedicated fans who don't want us to fail, and one dedicated fan who just wants to torture us into writing this column each day. If we can attract people to contribute, there's no way on earth Chille or any of these people can't do it. Again, we harp, but the effort needs to be there if you're going to run a campaign. Successful campaigns receive dedicated promotions. You can't just put up a campaign and expect people to give you money on a regular basis. It's all about busting your butt, getting your campaign out there, and actually working for the money you want to bring in. Unless, of course, you have a national news story to go with it. Then all the rules are off. None of the people that we follow have had that, and the only one with any real word-of-mouth interest came with Chille DeCastro's release from prison in July, with him raising nearly $4,500 in just a couple of days. But DeCastro, as DeCastro does, lost interest quickly in trying to make $100,000 because it was too much work. A mention with interest goes a long way, and he fails to capitalize on that interest on a regular basis. An example of this came on Saturday when he was exposed to nearly 90,000 viewers. Just a simple mention of one of his GoFundMes, let alone Press with Rancor's GoFundMe, who has a sentencing hearing coming up, and DeCastro still owes $20,000 to pay the attorney, would have done so much to propel his campaigns forward. But nope, too much hard work. He's not interested. Neither apparently are Long Island Audit, Direct D, Denver Metro Audits, or any of the other auditors we have in the race lately. Drive-by donations get occasional wins, but there's nothing like an actual campaign to bring the win home on a consistent basis. On that note, as we bust our butt to bring you new content each day, we'll be remiss if we didn't remind you that you can continue to force me to keep writing this column each day, as we do have a GoFundMe of our own. All proceeds go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. Turtleboy attacks the O'Keefe family again. In our Monday wrap-up of Sunday's ongoing activity in the Karen Reed-related Twitter war, journalism Jesus Aiden Turtleboy Kearney took center stage with attacks on victim John O'Keefe's family. Kearney wrote, "Normally in a murder, the mother of the victim is front and center, demanding justice and telling the world what a wonderful person their child was. Peggy O'Keefe hasn't said a single nice thing about her deceased son. She brought the fake victim to a pretrial hearing as a stunt, making a mockery and a circus of the proceedings. The only two words she has ever been heard saying are, 'Where's Lindsay?' She has zero interest in the facts because she has no interest in getting real justice for her son. She just doesn't like Karen Reed and willingly brought the people who murdered her son to court with her. It's okay to point out that she sucks." He also addressed critic Julie Carptenter. "There's a lot of insane, lonely cat ladies on the other side, but none more than this bootleg Peggy Bundy. Watches every single minute of my show. They all do. Just to get upset and post clips on Twitter pretending to be offended. None of them actually give a shit about John O'Keefe. They pretend to have moral high ground and make up lies about my kids. When confronted with their lies, I literally film myself every day getting my kids from the bus. They immediately deflect and cry that I'm mean to Peggy O'Keefe, who does in fact suck. Think about how horrible it must be to be married to someone like Julie Carptenter. Her poor husband probably would love to come home from work, eat a meal of food, and reluctantly have sex with her. Instead, she's watching Turtleboy and going on Twitter pretending to be outraged about strangers. I've never met him, but I would imagine he must consume copious amounts of pornography to make the pain go away." Carpenter replied, "This is how Aiden Kearney speaks about John O'Keefe and one of his longtime friends. Why does he do it? To dehumanize the victim and anyone who loved him. The way he can sell an outlandish conspiracy that could have only occurred in a span of 4 seconds and hide the truth with impunity. And it works. The Kearney cult, Manson women who run to Twitter to trash John's friend, and content creators continue to push the conspiracy." She also wrote, "One of the most heinous attacks against John O'Keefe and his family to date is Aiden Kearney's attack on Stephen Furbush, father of John's niece and nephew, Kaylee and Patrick. Stephen Furbush tragically died of a heart attack 2 months after John's sister Kristen died of brain cancer, leaving the children orphans. Kearney is actively trying to push a false narrative that Stephen died of a cocaine overdose. This is not true, nor is it award-winning journalism. This is a smear campaign by an activist in an attempt to discredit and dehumanize John and his loved ones on behalf of accused murderer Karen Reed. We will continue to monitor this situation as the Twitter war continues to dominate our feeds. You can follow along with all the Twitter action on our own Discord server, which aggregates Twitter posts from all the Karen Reed players into one forum at the Really Cool Newswire server. DeCastro misrepresents surfer footage. Jose Chille DeCastro misrepresented video footage he says catches police abusing somebody? Say it isn't so! But that's what apparently happened during his 3.5-hour live broadcast Sunday afternoon, which spoiled the early games of Sunday afternoon football for his fans. DeCastro started the broadcast wearing a cheap-looking Delete Laws baseball cap, which he said was a prototype of a future product for his website. He claimed he was going to take the cap around shops in LA and have a batch price to see what deals he could get before ordering the batch. Updating his friendship bracelet product, he said that he only had 20 left and he was unsure if he was going to have another batch printed, as there was a lot more work involved in shipping the merchandise. He mentioned that he had keychains available, but did not mention how many were left out of the initial 100-piece order. He also pitched his TeamDLZ.com, which he said would replace his main YouTube channels if YouTube ever took his channels down, warning that it could happen at any time. He promised that the site would be able to show uncensored photos and footage of police killing animals and humans and violence that he couldn't show on YouTube. TeamDLZ.com still hasn't launched as of Monday, September 9th, 2024. DeCastro brought out his journalism prank calling at least twice in the 3.5-hour broadcast, with his first prank call coming as he called the Hennessy, Oklahoma Police Department after an officer euthanized a lost family pet instead of attempting to find its owners. The story began DeCastro's usual descent into expressing his hatred of police, which culminated in footage he claimed of the police harassing a random surfer for no reason. DeCastro became triggered by the footage and brought back his expression of his violent fantasies of attacking and hurting police officers in one-on-one battles where the officers were not armed with their badges and guns. The reality of the footage DeCastro showed his fans was a little more involved than what DeCastro claimed. With just 20 seconds of Google searching, it was revealed that the incident took place at a beach in New Jersey, where everyone must buy and display a badge to use the beach each day. That was the whole issue. Surfers refused to wear the badges because they could damage their wetsuits. The surfer in question refused to display his badge or identify himself when he was approached by police. When he was told he was being detained, he walked away from the police, which resulted in the altercation and arrest. While police are investigating the incident, since the footage did go viral, no one is expecting changes or charges based on what happened. You wouldn't know this based on DeCastro's reaction, of course, as DeCastro became outraged, said he'd fight the police, and let his viewers know that this wouldn't happen had they had their 5A cop card and followed his principles and procedures for interacting with police. DeCastro said he'd be traveling on Monday, but indicated no plans for his 50th birthday later this week. If you'd like to celebrate his birthday for him, please join us Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern with our own Chille is Over the Hill extravaganza, right here on Really Cool News. Long Island Audit and Apree rinse and repeat. Sean Paul Long Island Audit Riaz and Apree offered separate but equal new videos over the weekend, offering their viewers more of the same, with Apree going into his emo character and Riaz harassing yet another Pennsylvania area DMV. Apree was dressed as his emo character with black lipstick, an all-black outfit, and a black fishing hat as he walked through the design district in Miami, interacting with as many people as he could find while holding his camera. Reactions were mixed, as most of those he encountered gave him a puzzled look before walking away from him, or just not giving a reaction. A few asked for him to stop recording them, which he complied with after the initial interaction. Apree had successful interactions with security guards who, rather than harassing him, laughed and joked with him and simply guided him away from areas where their employers were reacting negatively to him. Otherwise, Apree had no other real negative interactions with security guards or police, didn't have any memorable encounters with interesting people, didn't do anything to get himself arrested, and provided a few minutes of entertainment to his fans. Sean Paul Long Island Audit Riaz, like Apree, went into mostly harmless mode and stuck to his script as he recorded from a Pennsylvania Department of Transportation facility in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. You've seen this script before. LIA has a few words about upholding the Constitution before walking into an unsuspecting DMV. He encounters an employee who tells him that their policy doesn't allow filming in the facility. He says that policy isn't law and policy doesn't trump the Constitution. He then does something obnoxious. Police are called and the facility follows PennDOT policy and shuts down until he goes away. We've seen this so many times before that I had to check to see if this was a rerun. Sadly, it wasn't. Police arrived on the scene with one asking if he was the real Long Island Audit and shaking his hand before going into the facility. The PennDOT worker asked him to leave. Patrons of the facility became angry at LIA as the facility was shut down, and Riaz edited the most negative interactions with the patrons into the video. To his credit, Riaz blurred the face of a woman and her underage daughter who nicely asked him to stop recording them, but admitted that he did not blur the images of the other patrons as they were rude to him. Police asked him to leave. He asked if he'd be arrested if he didn't. The police said he would, so he left, promising that the police would be held accountable for their actions. Rinse and repeat. The video has had 178,694 views as of press time. And we're back. Just a quick reminder that we're celebrating Chille DeCastro's birthday Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, as he refuses to celebrate his big day. So stop on by and we'll do it for him right on our YouTube channel. We also have a big plan for Monday, September 30th, 2024, which is my birthday party, and I may cry if I want to, die if I want to. You would cry too, if you had to listen to Pope Phil too. With that, have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you again tomorrow.